Yeah. So it's like the top of your head was on the
Yeah,
getting cut off.
I'm trying not to show the top of my head because it's got it glares. It glares in the light.
That's some experience, Rich. That's not from old age.
That's just the smoke burning up there, right?
Uh-huh.
It's the wood burning.
Okay, Rich. So I'm gonna do an introduction to the podcast, and then we'll go into you, and then we'll see where that goes. Got a bunch of questions for you, Rich. So be ready.
I got a few answers. I don't know how many though. Go ahead.
You got more than a few.
I got a couple.
Okay. Hey, welcome to episode 24 to the Offline Podcast. I'm your host, John Jackson. Hey, you can listen to us on YouTube, Anchor, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Hey, show us some love by hitting that like button. Also, subscribe and join our team. And don't forget to hit that bell. Hey, we welcome comments and questions. So contact us at theofflinepodcast.com/contact. Today on the podcast, we've got a gentleman who's sort of my Jerry Maguire. He's done majority of my contracts when I was playing in the National Football League, and I'm very gracious to this guy. He did a lot of great deals, and I'll tell you what, let's just introduce Richard Katz. Rich, what's up?
Hey, John, how are you?
I'm doing good, Rich. So, Rich, tell me, let's go back as far as the backstory. There's a backstory how we met.
Yep.
And I was 11 years old when I met you for the first. I'm probably 11 years old when I met you first time.
Yep. But neither of us remembered that.
Yeah, but I was a little smaller then too.
Yeah, you're a little smaller then.
Yeah, and then I kept growing and growing and growing, and so the next time we connected back up was in Indianapolis.
Correct.
And do you remember that?
Oh, absolutely. I tell that story probably 15 times a year, every year since then.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at the combine, and those were the years at the combine when us agents, attorneys could go in the back room where the athletes were and where the coaches were and the scouts. So I was out in the lobby. I remember this distinctly, like it was yesterday. I was out in the lobby, and this guy, I'm talking to somebody, and this guy who taps me on the shoulder. And I turn around, and this guy's 6'5" at least, at 310 pounds. I turned around and said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Rich," and it was you. "Do you remember who I am?" And I said, "No, you better tell me." And I said, "I'm John Jackson, and I used to caddy for you at Sanibel Country Club when I was 11 or 12 years old, and I was probably half the size." So no, I don't remember. I remember you now telling me about it, but I said, "Oh my God, I didn't know you were in the NFL, and you didn't know I was representing athletes." And so that was the first time we had seen each other since probably you were in the 7th or 8th grade, and you were 5'5" or 5'6", and so we talked for a few minutes, and I said, "Well, what's going on?" And well, I'm left tackle for the Steelers, and I said, "You have somebody's representing you, obviously." And he said, "Yes." And I said, "You said to me, if I need you, can I call you?" And I said, "Anytime." And that's how we reconnected, John. It's a great story.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about 12 months later when you called me.
Yep. And you were sick, I remember. And you were like, I'm coming to see you the next day. And I was like, well, he's sick and he's coming to see me? I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I was sniffling a little bit with the Ohio Valley Sniffles.
Ohio Valley Sniffles? Yeah. So when we got together and we did, I'm trying to think, how many contracts did we do? I did, you were my agent for 10 years.
3.
And I want to say we did at least 4 or 5 contracts.
I think we did 3, maybe 4, John.
Yeah.
No, if we're counting the Bengals last one, that's probably 4 or 5. Yeah.
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 That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember coming to the Bengals and you should always take things at a grain of salt. And remember, they wouldn't let us in.
They would not let us in.
Yeah, they were like,
here I am, right?
Yeah.
Here I am with a 6'5", 310-pound guy who looks like an offensive lineman who should be in the NFL, and they wouldn't let us in.
Like, what we got to call up there. And they call, I think they call it Lippincott.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, let him in. Let him in. So,
Yeah.
So, hey, Rich, how long have you been an agent now?
Well, I tilt my head forward a little bit, and you can see that it's been so long that I've lost all my hair as a result of being an agent. But approximately 1987, maybe.
Okay.
First became an agent. And so that's 30-something years, 34, 35 years.
What made you go into being an agent? Because, I mean, you were a lawyer. You're a lawyer, right?
Yeah, well, I knew I was going to run into you at the combine sometime. And, so I figured that 10 years in advance, I'm going to become an agent. No, when I was in law school, I worked for an agent named Ron Grinker in Cincinnati. And I was a junior, second and third year law student. And so I worked for Ron, and I was also involved in the newspaper at the University of Cincinnati as an undergraduate, a sports editor and editor of the News Record. So I maintained a whole lot of relationships because I went to UC Law School and worked for Grinker. And then I started to practice law in believe it or not, 1974. I always had my mind open to representing athletes. And I didn't go out and looking for it, but because of the experiences and because of the network I had, I was close to the athletic department at the University of Cincinnati and everybody there, the coaches. And so one day I just fell into it. A good friend of mine was employed a linebacker at the University of Cincinnati by the name of Alex Gordon. Mm-hmm. And, this was 1987 for the 1987 draft. And before the draft, I think it was like in the fall, my friend introduced me to Alex. And Alex was a little skeptical because he had just come off of a meeting with, I won't name his name, but a guy who handed him an envelope full of $100 bills and wanted to be his agent. I said, I don't do that, man. So I represented Alex, and Alex that's a great story in and of itself, John, if you want me to tell that story, but Alex on draft.
Yeah, I want you to tell that story.
Okay, so Alex is supposed to be, everybody says he's going to be the first round pick of the University of Cincinnati football team in 10, 15 years. Mm-hmm. And so, Alex signed with me and I'm representing him. So we decided to have Alex come over to my house. And my wife, Diane, was there, and I was there, and a couple other folks were there, and Alex's friends, and a couple other guys who played for UC. And then the Enquirer showed up, and the TV cameras showed up. And this was back before social media and before all this. So we were expecting he's going to be taken in the first round. And we get to the last pick in the 30th pick in the first round, which was the Chicago Bears. And we got a call. We're sitting in my family room watching, and we get a call from NBC Radio in Chicago. And this young lady says, can we talk to Alex Gordon? We understand he's going to be the next pick of the Chicago Bears here in the first round. So I said, yeah, hold on a second. So Alex gets on the phone. Camera lights go on from the TV guys. Okay. All the lights in the room go on. And we're sitting there watching. And I give Alex the phone. Yes, this is Alex Gordon. So she talks to him. And the commissioner gets up. As we all know, the commissioner, it was Pete Rozelle then. Mm-hmm. He gets to the microphone, and we're expecting Alex's name. And he says, down Chicago Bears with the 30th pick in the 1987 NFL draft, select John Harbaugh, quarterback. And the woman from NBC Radio hangs up the phone on Alex. The lights go out on the camera. Alex is standing there with the phone. And he finally hangs it up. It was one of the worst moments of my career. And it was the first draft choice that I had. And he ended up going with the second round of the New York Jets at 17 or 18, which was about 3 or 4 hours later. And so he sat in that chair and didn't say a word. And then we were real excited about that when he was drafted. That was the beginning of a nice career for Alex. But he was the first draft choice I had. That was referred by a friend. And it went on from there, John. I mean, they say in the service business, if you do a good job for somebody, they're going to refer you to somebody else. And that's the way this business has been built over the years. We've represented probably over 250, 300 guys who played in the NFL at one time or another over all those years.
Right. And you had an incident in San Diego, which was pretty good. We fly to San Diego, and we're going through. I was a free agent, and that was like the first stop of we might have had a couple stops. I'm not going to mention other teams' names, but believe me, I had my bags packed for a couple trips, and we go to San Diego, and everything kind of like fell into place, but. I swore. I swear to God, I thought he was going to screw this deal up. And I'm thinking, he goes back in there again. He goes, John, I can get more money. And I'm thinking, there is no more money. He goes, no, John, there's more money. And I think he went in there like twice. And I'm thinking, boy, if he comes out a third time, he's going right over that rail. Yeah.
So we're sitting in the office that day, the first day of free agency, you and I.
Mm-hmm.
I happened to call Bobby Beathard, who was the general manager of the Chargers. And we kind of all knew that they were going to select a quarterback with the first pick in the draft coming up. So they needed a left tackle. So I said, Bobby, how about John Jackson? We'd love to come out there and talk to you. He said on the telephone to me, he said in the office, he said, Rich, we don't have enough money to pay you guys. And I said, how do you know? I haven't asked you for anything. I haven't told you what we're looking for. How do you know you don't have enough money? So did you lose me?
I'm sorry. Keep going, Rich. I had to turn my alarm off, but we'll edit this.
Okay. So I said, Bobby, I said, you don't know money. You have no idea because I haven't made a demand. I haven't told you what we're looking for. So I said, why don't you just bring John and I out and John's wife and we'll talk. We'll meet.
Mm-hmm.
You and I get on the plane, and you at 6'5", 310 pounds, wear a 3-piece suit, and you look like a tight end, right? And so we got picked up at the airport, and by their offensive line coach, I believe it was Joe Bugle.
Right.
And we go back to the facility, and things started to line up for us. And one of the things and I talk about this all the time because when I teach law school and I teach sports law, and a big part of it's the negotiation part of it. So, this example comes up all the time. I mean, every year I teach this. So, you can't teach somebody how to negotiate a contract. You have to learn by experience. And so I've had a few contracts before then, and I'm learning by experience. And you gotta look, you gotta listen, and you gotta hear. And what I say, when the moons align, you got what's called leverage. Okay. Mm-hmm. When we first walk in the door, and the owner of the team was there, Mr. Spanos, and the head coach was Kevin Gilbride, and Bobby Beathard was there, and we were walking in the lobby, and Gilbride looks at you and says, John, you look like a tight end. Well, I knew we had something going well, right? Because he was commenting on your athleticism and you had your weight under control, and that's how you played. And so from there on, we continued, and then we had dinner. And Joe Bugle was there, Beathard was there, and the guy negotiating for San Diego Chargers was a guy by the name of Ed McGuire.
Mm-hmm.
This was the first contract that Ed was doing, that he had just come from the NFL offices. And he was negotiating contracts for them or doing something in their front office. He was hired by the Chargers, and he was
right. But you made the one great move. So he gives you the envelope. Rich gets this envelope and he sticks it in his pocket. Rich doesn't say anything after that. And what did he say?
Well, we sat down for dinner, and McGuire walks in about 15 minutes later, and he hands me this envelope in my pocket. I said, "What's that, Ed?" He said, "That's an offer." I said, "You going to look at it?" I said, "We'll talk about it later." So yeah, and so I didn't look at it and share it with you until after dinner. And so I mean, the moons are starting to align, John. I mean, from the opening tip off when we walked into the lobby, and Gilbride snatches you away and takes you into his office right away, and Bugle's with him, and then we have dinner, and they hand the envelope, and I just put it in my pocket, and they just kind of, what? You're not looking at it? So And we designed a plan for the following morning. We were going to have breakfast with Bobby Beathard and Bugle and Ed McGuire. So you and I are sitting at the table with Beathard and McGuire. And I reached into my pocket and I opened up the envelope and we started to negotiate. And I said, you may not have enough money for us. And you're sitting there, we're eating breakfast and you're about choking on your breakfast when I'm talking. And Bobby said, no, Rich, he said, if this is going to do it, I may have a little room to go, but, I said, well, Bobby, it's not going to do it. I guess take us back to the airport. We'll fly back to Cincinnati. And I closed my notebook and pushed my chair back. And you were looking at me like, what are we doing? And Beathard says, he gets up from the table and he's behind the table in a booth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just a table aside.
I remember.
Remember that? And he gets up and he says, I'll be back. I'm going to go talk to the owner. Okay. So moons are starting to align. And then from there, we went back to Ed's office and Bobby's office. And there's still a bunch of that story left. If you want me to tell it, I'll tell it.
Yeah, I want you to tell it, Rich.
Okay. So
I'll tell the part when I was going to throw you off the balcony. Now.
Well, I know you were going to break my legs, and then you were going to throw me off the balcony.
Mm-hmm.
So, John and you and your wife, you got a picture of this now. We're in an office, and the big picture window looks out over the practice facility, and it's got a porch and a railing. So I'm in the office with McGuire and Beathard, and you are standing outside the railing, looking at the practice field, thinking about we're going home, right? And so I come out about 20 minutes later, and I said, John, here's the offer. And I said, I want you to turn around and look at me so that you're facing the office. And I'm going to tell you something. I do not want you to smile. I want you to shake your head no, adamantly. And I told you what the offer was, and you said, well, that's pretty good. And you said, I said, I'm going to go back for more. There's more. And you said, if you go back in there and you come back out here and you blow this deal, I'm going to break your legs. Right? So I go back in and I come back out and we do the same thing. Face the window, shake your head no. And I had a deal on the table that was a knock your socks off deal, and it was just about the highest paid offensive lineman in the history of the NFL, right? Mm-hmm. The left tackle for the Colts was for the Ravens.
No, Minnesota. He was the highest guy.
He was the highest guy.
Yeah.
So same thing happens, and this time you said, "Listen, not only am I going to break your legs if you go back in and blow it, I'm going to throw you off this balcony." Well, I didn't want to get thrown off the balcony, so I was pretty confident, and I said, "John, I can get a little more."
Because remember, I told you I didn't want to be the highest paid guy.
I know you did.
I did not want to be the highest paid guy.
I couldn't help myself, John. I couldn't help myself. So I go back in and got a few more dollars, which made us the highest paid offensive lineman. And I came out and we had a deal. And that was.
And I also remember when Bobby Beathard, he was so terrified that I said, "Listen, I got to call Mr. Rooney and I got to talk to Coach Howard." And he was terrified that they were going to match that deal. And I'm thinking, they're not going to match this deal. They're not going to match this deal at all.
We had talked to Tom Donahoe, who was the general manager of the Steelers. And it wasn't Tom, was it? No.
Yeah, it was Donahoe. Yeah.
It was Donahoe. But the guy had been dealing with the Steelers. And
no, it wasn't Tom Donahoe. It was what is his name?
Really good guy.
Dan Ferentz. That's it. Dan Ferentz.
Really good guy.
Dan yelled at me when I told him about the deal, and he was yelling at me, and I was like, "Dan, why are you yelling at me?" He goes, "John, we can't afford to lose you." And I'm like, "Dan, I'm sorry. I'm sorry."
Write me a check, right?
Yeah, I said, "Dan, I'm sorry." I said, "But this is the offer." I said, "This is what it is."
Well, before we had gone out to San Diego, a couple of days before free agency, I had talked to Dan multiple times, and we tried to get a deal done. And he said, "Rich, this is as far as we can go." And I said, "Dan, I really think I can get substantially more than that on the market." And he said, "Well, I don't." So I said, "Okay, we'll leave it at that. We'll go test the market." And we tested the market. And then you did. You walked. You said, "I got to go." But you told Bethard, "I got to go call the Roonies, and I got to call Cower and tell them what I'm doing here." I think Bethard jaw dropped. He thought they were going to match it, but I think you knew they weren't going to match it.
No, because I wanted to make sure I told Mr. Rooney that this wasn't personal. This was business. So, and he understood that because that was a big thing in later on of my career. I mean, he was like, when you're ready to come home, come on home. So that's why I made sure I retired a Steeler. And that was a big thing to me. That was huge.
No, absolutely. And to this day, John, you don't burn bridges. You just don't. You treat others like you want to be treated yourself, and you did the right thing. And they treated you right when you wanted to retire as a Steeler. You had played last year, and I used played. You really didn't play a whole lot that last year with the Bengals. You were backup, which was fine with you. And
it was great with me. It was great with me. They paid me a lot of money to back up. I was like, "You're gonna pay me what, Rich?" I'm like, "You're gonna pay me what?" Like, yeah, okay.
So but then when the year was over, you called the Roonies and said, "I'd really like to retire as a Steeler," and they for it, and you retired as a Steeler.
And that's like I said, that was important to me to make sure that I retired a Steeler. So let's talk about being an agent. When I was playing early in my career, and now, I mean, there's a big difference as far as the loyalty factor because, I mean, guys, they switch agents like they switch socks. I mean, there's really no loyalty with the younger guys. It's so much with the older guys. I remember, and I told you this, I used to get a couple letters on a weekly basis from different agents. And come to find out, that's illegal. You can't send, you can't recruit, try to recruit people who are already with an agent. But yet you got guys out there who still do it.
Oh, all the time. I mean, absolutely. The rules of the Players Association, I have to be certified by the Players Association as a contract advisor. And the rules that I have to abide by are I cannot solicit somebody else's client while that player is with another agent. Well, so be it. I mean, there have been a few of those cases enforced over 35 years, but very, very rarely. But yeah, there's been a number of different changes since when I started. First of all, there's probably 10 times as many agents now as there were back then. That was the late 80s, early 90s, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah. So there's, we had to be certified, and there was probably just a couple hundred of us. There's probably 700 or 800, maybe. And the competition is just, I mean, you see the dollars, you see the contracts these days. I mean, the contracts are going up and up and up. And even though the cap's coming down for next year because of this year, but the contracts and everybody wants to get in the business. Everybody thinks it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Well, it's really not.
No, it's not. And it's not as easy as people think it is.
It's not as easy as you think it is. And everybody wants somebody on their roster. So, I mean, up until like up until the early 90s, maybe the mid 90s, I had never lost a client. And then all of a sudden, I lost a big one. I had Sean Alexander. He was drafted.
And why do you think you lost him?
Well, because somebody else came in, and I got to just be careful what I say because they're still in business, I think.
I know. That's why.
But I lost him because they made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
Right.
And it was a cash offer. And what happens these days is they're what's called marketing deals. And so if I promise you a marketing deal and I charge you 20% of that marketing deal, that's off the field stuff, and I advance you and I say I'm going to get you $10 million of marketing money, and my fee on that is going to be $2 million. But I'm going to advance you. I'm going to advance you $2 million towards your portion of it, and I'll collect it when I get the deals done. So that went on a lot back then. They don't do that a whole lot now.
Right.
So then it's, why are you leaving me? And it came at a number. Why are you leaving? I said, because I can. And it wasn't just, I mean, Sean, and then it was started. It was
Right. But I mean, if you want to leave an agent, what you need to do a certified letter, and it's 7 days notice. Right.
3 days now.
Now it's 3 days. They cut it down to 3 days. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So what would you tell parents that are looking for an agent? What would they be looking for?
Well, back then,
or should I say, what should they look for?
Well, they should be looking for somebody who knew what they were doing, that had some experience, and that was credible and honorable and wouldn't lie to their kids, and who would make promises to them and keep the promises, and and be able to talk about the chronology and what happens before the draft and after the draft, and have the knowledge, sufficient knowledge. That's what it should be. That's what parents should be looking for. Hey, John, it's totally backwards, because the first thing somebody does when I walk in their house or they walk in my office is they say, how much are you going to pay for my training? Okay. So it's not about, am I competent anymore? It's about, how much am I going to pay for your training? And everybody gets trained for the combine these days in their pro days. And so,
right, and plus a stipend too. I mean,
plus stipend. Yeah. I mean, you're talking a lot of money. So that's the first question they ask right now. And, I mean, there's some guys that we expect will be drafted that will go ahead and advance their training expense and stipend to take care of their expenses, which is appropriate. We have to have a separate contract.
Right.
But we don't get repaid that money. Win, lose,
right.
The player makes it, doesn't make it. We don't get that money back. We're not permitted to ask. It's not a loan. We're advancing expenses. So you got to be really careful these days about who you're trying to go after as a client, and because you're going to spend a ton of money, depending on whether they're at, if you're talking a first or second round pick or a seventh round pick or a free agent. I mean, free agents these days are sort of looking for their training to be paid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you had a perfect scenario as far as player that you would want to go after, out of all the positions, what would that position and player be?
What you mean, position on the field?
Yeah.
I'm not so sure it's a position thing for me, John. I think it's more of it's the individual, it's the player, person, it's the family. As much as they want somebody who's good and honorable and credible to represent them, I want an honorable person, an honorable individual as a client, and a family that is honorable and credible also. And so,
right.
That's what we kind of look for. And then, we determine, where that player is anticipated to go in the draft, and then it's a business decision. It's a business model nowadays is how much money you can spend, in terms of the training.
And do you have a particular place you work out of, or you're pretty much all over the board now?
No, well, as you well know, we had a place in Tampa that we used for probably 4 or 5 years. And we take everybody that we signed to Tampa, and it was a facility there in a hotel. And we'd get down there and they'd train for 6 or 7 weeks. And guess who was in charge of our training at that point?
That would be me. That would
be you. John, let's put together this package. And so we would take them all down to Tampa and spend quite a bit of money and have your guys drafted when you're doing that. So remember 1 year
we had a few guys get drafted down there, but it was kind of slim pickings.
Well, the 1 year you were training 2 offensive linemen was a good year we had with Zach Northwestern and Jerry from Kansas State down there. And but nowadays it's there's so many individuals that have training facilities.
They're popped up all over the place. I get emails all the time saying, hey, do you know any agents that would want to send their clients here? And I'm emailing back like, dude, I'm out of the business. I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm out.
I mean, the trainers have nothing to lose. Nothing against the trainers. They're good guys most of the time, and some of them are very good friends. But they have nothing to lose. They get paid by the agent. They train, and they have to give nothing back if the player doesn't make it. If the player is supposed to run a 4.5 and he runs a 4.9, it's not the trainer's fault. So they don't have anything invested. And I say that, it's not kind of with a grain of salt, because they do have their blood, sweat, and tears invested, and they want to see their guys make it and do well. So the next year, they can say, hey, I had this guy and he did this, that, and the other.
Right. Now, hey, Rich, hold on 1 second. I got to do a little advertisement for my favorite cigar shop, Bell's House Tobacco. Hey, if you want a great cigar, this is my one of my favorites, a novel. It's called a Heritage. Great cigars. You can get this at Bell's. And right after this podcast, this is what I'm going to smoke. But on the screen, you'll see all the contact information. Hey, make sure you stop by there and see John Bell at Bell's House, at Bell's House Tobaccos. Great spot. Like I said, I've been going there for 20 years, and you can't find a finer cigar. So hit up Bell's House Tobacco. Okay, thanks. Yeah.
But you know who taught me to smoke cigars now?
That'd probably me.
That'd be you.
And Diane's going to kill me too. She's going to kill me. But you were already smoking a pipe, so you were already ahead of me. So
yeah,
you were already ahead of me. Yeah, you're already ahead of me.
Yeah.
But hey, Rich, let's talk about making it to that second. How hard is it to make it to that second contract with a player? Because all the competition that you have now. I mean, you said earlier it was probably about a couple hundred. Now it's probably what, a couple thousand agents?
No. I think it's under 1,000, but it's awful close.
Yeah.
So,
but how tough is it to get to that second contract without worrying about a guy flipping?
Yeah, no. It gets more difficult as day by day, because first of all, if I'm going to steal somebody else's client and going into a second contract, number one, it's big money.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, I don't have to pay for training anymore.
Right.
So I'm going to let somebody else pay for training and do the first 3 or 4 years, and then I'll jump in and do the second contract. So it's very difficult, John, very difficult. And there's a whole bunch of people in this business who do some different things. And I'm not going to say, I don't want to say negative about anybody, but
But it's tough though. I mean,
it's difficult.
I was working for you, and it was always tough to figure out who was going to jump, but you just never knew who was going to jump because of the severity of what they're about to get compared to what they have right now. It's like leaps and bounds. So,
it's hey, Rich, it's not personal, it's business. It's not personal, it's business. I've had a couple guys who've left me.
Right.
Seen them again years later, and they would say to me, I can't believe I did that. I should have never left you, because the grass is always greener, but it wasn't greener.
It wasn't green. Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, well, and I saw one player who left me, and I saw him at a bowl game, and he had retired, and he had left me for the last 3 or 4 years of his career. And he said, "You want me to go out and help you recruit?" And I said, "Man, I'd love it for a veteran like you to help me recruit." I said, "What are you going to tell them? What are you going to tell the recruit and the family when they say, well, why weren't you representing you towards the end of your career? What are you going to say?" And I said, "Thank you. I appreciate the offer, but it won't work. It's not the right thing." So.
No, that's kind of hard. I left you, but I'm helping you recruit. And it's kind of, it's kind of, to me, it's ass backwards.
Yeah, it is. It really is. So, but I appreciated the offer, and it was a sincere offer, and I think he meant well. Just that he didn't get to the next step and say, okay, how am I going to answer that question?
Right. So what would be also some of the things when a guy first, he first signs with you, makes the team. I mean, you go through a lot with the players. I mean, you sit them down, and like you said, you do the chronological order as far as expect this, expect that. And I've seen you do budgets. You've done budgets for me, but that's not all what agents do, though. I mean, most agents don't do what you do.
No. Yeah. So you had asked me about what I do that some others don't do. And, I don't, I don't really check into what others do these days, in terms of, but it used to be, John, when back in the day, I hate to say that back in the day, but back in the day, we would do that. We would talk about your budget. We'd talk, I'd look at your contract, the language in your apartment lease. I'd look at your car lease, or your car deals. We talk about all that stuff. We talk about what you want to do afterwards. And you want to tell the Oprah story?
No, I'll let you tell that one, because that was a good story. So
okay.
That's why I got you on here, Rich, to talk.
Okay, gotcha. So
but you were the catalyst who got that deal all done.
Yeah,
especially with the coins.
But yeah, you're right. But I got to have the right client, right? I mean, can't do that contract without the right client. And so yeah, I mean, I made it happen, but it was all you. You were the guy I was negotiating for. So the Oprah story. I'm sitting there and this is the day I was sick. I was home in the afternoon, and I'm watching Oprah for some reason. I never watched Oprah, and she, at the end of the show or beginning of the show, was asking, at the end of the show, was asking her audience to contribute coins for her foundation, or for
her Angel Network.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so people would come up and they drop quarters and they drop dollar bills. And so I said to you, John, how would you like to do this? Why don't we try and get you on Oprah? And at the time, you and your wife really loved Oprah.
Mm-hmm.
You still do. I don't know, but so you said, that's a great idea. And I said, why don't we try this? Why don't we get a wheelbarrow, get you on Oprah, and you wheel in make a $5,000 donation and wheel it in on her stage in coins. So you and I were both really excited about this. I mean,
Yeah, I was excited because I had to do it twice. I had to take that wheelbarrow and go up that ramp twice. Yes. And I was like, this is a workout. I was like, this is a workout.
I never touched the wheelbarrow.
That wheelbarrow, Rich, I got to say, that wheelbarrow was so heavy. And I'm thinking, man, if I drop this thing, everyone laughing at me. So I'm like, don't drop this wheelbarrow. Don't drop this wheelbarrow. Yeah.
So I called Oprah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't talk to her. I talked to her production manager.
One of the producers, right?
And producers, and they were excited as hell.
Right, because we were the first NFL player to donate.
Yeah,
and that meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to me because I was always trying to give back, and we ended up setting up that foundation and giving away those scholarships to public high schools. So that was where that was born.
And they made the arrangements with a local bank. I mean, you were going to write the bank, mm-hmm. the coins,
right,
and put in the wheelbarrow. And then you wheeled it on stage, and I was sitting there in the first row, dropping my jaw, saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening." So yeah, that was
but we should have brought Diane. That's your fault. You negotiate the deal, Rich. You negotiate the deal.
I know.
Yeah, you negotiate the deal.
She's not in the room, so I'm not going to repeat that to her. But how many years ago was that? Was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago. You were just trying to make sure I got there, so I appreciate that.
I was trying to make sure you got there with your coins, man. And then you had now I don't remember. Did you dump the coins out of the wheelbarrow into something, or was just the wheelbarrow sat there on stage? I don't remember that.
No, they had them in that bag, and I dumped them in the barrel. And I had to take the wheelbarrow up the ramp, and they were like, "Okay, let's take it back down, and we're gonna do it again." And I did it again. I did it twice before I did the actual show. They wanted to make sure that I could take the wheelbarrow up there. I was like, I could take this wheelbarrow up there. It's no problem. But I was like, okay, we're not gonna do this. The third time is the last time I'm doing this. I'm thinking to myself, because I think this joker is heavy. Like this joker's heavy, and I'm thinking to myself. And the only thing I was thinking, I was like, please do not drop this wheelbarrow. I mean, it's $5,000 worth of coins.
Yeah.
That's a lot of coins.
They all weren't pennies, but they were.
No, there were some quarters, nickels, and dimes. They kind of spaced them out.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a great cause. I mean, great cause, because I think that $5,000 was 2 scholarships that year.
Yeah, and you were the first NFL player to do that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that meant a lot to me. That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
So what about now as far as what type of guys are you looking for? I mean, I know you're looking for the somebody with some integrity, but with some loyalty. But there's always a two-way street. So what are you looking for in a guy?
Excuse me. You know, when you're first talking to the families and the kids, I mean, it's, you want to talk about loyalty, but then they want to know, why do you want to talk about that? And
Mm-hmm.
you want to get into, well, you don't want to leave just because you want to leave. You got to be loyal to the guy who's helping you do all this.
Right.
And we lost a player this year, or no, last year, who, and my partner and I said, if we can lose this player having done everything that we did for him, then we could lose anybody. And it wasn't about bad business. There's never been a client leaving for bad business.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but like you said, I mean, they kind of get enamored with another situation, thinking that grass is greener on the other side, and then when they get there, it's like, why did I leave this? Why did I leave and get in this bad situation?
What did you promise me that you're not producing for me?
Right.
Everybody can make a promise, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a matter of you gotta follow through on your promises, and that's why you got to have some credibility. So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for credible athletes that have an opportunity to make it in the NFL. Now, I'm not a pro football maven, and what I mean by that is I'm not a scout. I can't tell a college player has got everything they need to make it in the NFL. I wish I did, but I have more experience than the normal guy on the street. So
right.
I can look at film and I can kind of halfway tell, maybe 60% tell. And I listen to scouts and I listen to coaches talk about different positions, and I can talk about it. I can repeat that stuff. So I'm looking for players that do that, and I talk about that. And then and I'm looking for players that, I mean, be very honest with you. I mean, unless there's a first round pick that falls in my lap, I can't compete for first round pick. I hate to say that publicly, but I can't compete for first round. I'm not going to compete for first round pick. And that's because,
Rich, I tell you, those lower round picks aren't too bad. I mean, I was lower round pick, so I mean, you kind of build your way up, and that's been your forte as far as getting those late round guys,
free agents. Yep.
Right, and getting them to that second and third contract.
Right, and that's what makes it harder to lose a player. Hey, Rich, it's not personal, it's business. I mean, that's what makes it hard, because we work so darn hard to do everything that we think is correct and everything that the client wants. And John, there are not two clients that are alike that require the same things. You know that.
Right.
The guys you played with, every one of them had something unique about them that they needed from the person representing them. So, we got to figure out what they need, what they want. And I don't think there's two guys that I've represented over the years that required the same thing. Generally, yes. Advising on football and business and stuff like that. But specifically, no, you got to really know you. Do I have to talk to this person every Sunday night after a game? Are they going to call me, or are they going to expect me to call them? I mean, it's hard. It
is hard, Rich. But I mean, to me, it was always like, I didn't need to hear from you. I mean, every couple of weeks I'd call and tell you how I'm doing. But calling somebody every week, it's kind of like babysitting, and that was always that to me. It's like, okay. And then you would always call me. I'm like, Rich, what's wrong? Is there anything wrong? I'm like, okay, because everything's going good here. So
I know.
Like, yeah. I mean, if I need something, I'll believe me. You'll be the first person I call. But right. I always appreciate you when you did call. So calling every week.
Yeah, but when I would call, you would say, "What's wrong? What's wrong?"
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to do it. I'm like, okay, is something wrong? Like, are they going to cut me, or what are they trying to do here? Okay, but I think that's where it's changed too. I think they've got the kids that are coming out now are more needy, and they kind of want that. I wouldn't say. Well, I would call it validation. They want more validation than the older guys and the players that came before them, because now they want you to talk to them every week. Some guys want you to talk to them twice a week. There's no reason that you should talk to your agent more than I'd say a couple times a month, especially during the season, because you're busy. you can't do anything. It's all on the player. It's really on the player, unless he's got something to do with, like you said, buying a new car or getting to a new lease or maybe buying a house. And that reminds me, we bought a house down in Florida, and you remember that? And you went over the lease, and you're going, they're giving you all this? And I was like, Rich, they're giving it to me. And they called me back. I think we were in the house for about a month. And they called me back, and they go, you owe us more money. We didn't put the price in. And I called you up, and what did you tell me? Did they sign it? Yeah. I signed it. He goes,
Yeah.
Then you're done. You're done.
I mean,
yeah,
deal's a deal, right?
Right. And they gave me, I think they gave me like $30,000 worth of upgrades, but forgot to put it in there. And I was like, because I kept asking, I was like, "Are you guys sure? Because this deal is too good to be true." And it was too good to be true because it came back.
I said the same thing, right? I said,
yeah.
The same
And
thing
you said that too. You go, John, you could buy this much. You could buy all this for this price. And they go, yeah, Rich, that's what they're giving me. I'm like, you're like, wow. And that was a heck of a deal. But I think they got so enamored as far as me being an athlete, buying one of their houses, that they didn't, cross their T's and dot their I's, and check their numbers.
That was one of the very few times that I had a client who I said, "Don't read this, just."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just sign it. I was like, I'm signing it. I'm like, okay, we're good. We're good.
We're good. We're all good.
No, we're all good.
Yeah.
Hey, but Rich, how's your grandkids doing?
Hey, they're doing great. One of the boys is playing he's a freshman and he's playing football. And,
really?
And you know what I taught? And I was an idiot. Like, I'm talking to him and he and his dad on the phone, and they're living in North Carolina. He says he's going to play offensive, defensive line. So I said, if you're playing offensive line, what they want to see you do is bend your knees, right? Now I'm talking to a 15-year-old and telling him to bend his knees. Come on. So I said,
you're getting ready for the pros, Rich.
I'm getting ready for the pros. That's what they're looking for. What? He's 15 years old. He's having fun with the girls and wants to play football.
They just want you to play at 15, knees. Rich. Yeah. They just want you to play. They don't care about all that. It's a little too early. But I think you're definitely directing him in the right direction now. You got to bend his knees.
Benjamin.
So Scott's doing well, and both the grandkids doing good. Stephanie's doing good.
Yeah, I have four of them, John.
You got 4?
17, 15, 9, and 4.
17.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, 17.
Oh my goodness.
Scott's son is 17, and then the one that's playing football is 15. And
wow,
they live in North. They live right outside of Raleigh.
No, I remember those guys growing up, but I got just the one, and he's giving Josh a run for his money. He's giving him a run for his money, and I love it, because it's like payback. It's total payback.
Yeah, I haven't seen Jordy. I haven't seen Jordy or Josh for forever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But Jordan's got Josh has got how many?
Just one.
Got one?
Yeah, he's just got one. Yeah. And Jordan's never going to be kids. He thinks they're too expensive.
I got news for him. He's right.
No.
You know that. Yeah, so no, knock on wood, everybody's doing well. I'm quarantining myself. Today's.
See, that's another thing I want to ask you too. I mean, how hard do you think it was this year for the NFL? I mean, everybody's kind of like, oh, they made it through. But it was tough because they had to reschedule some games. I mean, the Steelers they played 3 games in 11 days. That, to me, is crazy.
Yeah, no, I don't think the fan out there who doesn't know anything about, who likes football, but is only a fan, I don't think they understand what those guys went through.
Mm-hmm.
Be tested 18,000 times a day and then missing a game. And if you test positive, you got to be home for 2 weeks. I mean, everybody going in and out of those locker rooms and the facilities. It was difficult. It was pretty difficult. Just look at the college basketball. What's going on with college basketball? I mean, this.
I don't see how they're going. I don't see how the NCAA is going to play a tournament this year. It's going to be tough. And then now they're talking about going to one city.
Yeah, Indianapolis.
Yeah. So you mean to tell me they're going to invite every team is going to come in there and play?
Well, there's like 4 or 5 facilities within 50 miles of Indianapolis. There's Butler. There's 2 facilities in downtown Indianapolis, and there's Butler.
Right. Then they got Indianapolis University's there too.
Yeah. So they're gonna play.
Plus, they've got would they play in the football arena? Well, they got the basketball arena too. So
yeah, they got the basketball arena where the Pacers play, and then the football arena. That's where they've held the Final Four there. They set that up for a basketball game. So they're going to be spread all over the city, and they'll have. I mean, I'd hate to be the person who's running the logistics of that, but
yeah. But how are they going to do the hotel rooms? It's going to be insane.
Yeah, I mean that first weekend. I mean, yeah, no, I don't. You know what? I talk about it and I drive myself nuts just thinking about it. I can't even imagine trying to logistically run this thing. More power, But that's what's going to happen. That's and the girls are the same way. The women's basketball. I can't remember. I just read something.
They're doing theirs in San Antonio.
San Antonio, yeah.
Yeah, they're doing theirs in San Antonio,
yeah.
Which is still going to be crazy. I mean, I don't know what's around San Antonio, but you have all those people there. I wouldn't want to go there, not without getting a shot first. So, but that's just me.
Have you
got a lot of people that want to go. Yeah,
I haven't been able to get my shot yet.
What? You got to get in there and get your shot.
I go online and I call different places. Oh, you got to do schedule online. So I go online and the websites are all crashing because there's so many people on the website. I can't even check off boxes. I can't even register. So
they got to do something. They got to do something. Hey, Rich, I just want to thank you for doing this podcast, and I want to thank you for doing my great contracts that you've done in the past years, and you've always been a friend to me. And if you need anything, I'm there. So, especially if you're on the side of the road, but I'll be there with a cigar in my mouth, pulling up. It'll be me. I'll be the guy with the window down and the smoke coming out. So you'll know exactly who it is.
I know who that is.
But thank you so much. I appreciate you.
My pleasure, and good friend for all these years, and continue to be so. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. So when all this is said and done, and it gets a little warmer, we'll smoke a cigar.
Absolutely.
And have a beverage.
I don't know how we're going to smoke a cigar with a mask on, but that's okay. We'll figure it out.
Well, we'll just spread ourselves apart. You stay over there. I'll stay over there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But hopefully by then you'll have your shot. I'll have my shot.
Yes.
And then it'll be a lot better.
Yes.
But just want to thank you.
Now, one last thing.
Uh-huh.
It's Super Bowl in Tampa, and you and I spent a lot of time in Tampa at that little cigar place.
Right. Cigar Castle.
Cigar Castle. And then there's that little city where they made cigars right in front of you.
Ybor City.
Yeah, Ybor City. We spent there.
Oh, that place had to be crowded this weekend.
All right, yeah.
Without a doubt. Yeah. I was scared when I saw the fans afterwards. They were partying with no mask on. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, that's a recipe for disaster right there. They're spreading, and it was like, that's why I was in the garage smoking a cigar after the game.
I don't blame you.
Yeah. But thanks a lot, Rich. And hey, guys, I want to thank Richard Katz for being a great guest. But make sure you guys subscribe to our podcast and join our team. Hey, don't forget to hit that like button. And don't forget, hey, we welcome comments and questions. So contact us at theofflinepodcast.com/contact. So another one in the books, that's number 24. And we're just going to keep going. So everybody out there, be safe, and we'll see you soon.
Take care, John. See ya.
Thanks. Thanks, Rich.
Thank you, guys. Okay, talk to you soon.